Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we will continue with the production process of our rock ballad. And particularly, I'm going to show you how I mixed the drums for our song coming up next. If this is the first time you're visiting us, this channel is about music production. If you are a self-producing artist, aspiring engineer, producer, or recordist, this channel is for you. Here we want to share with you tips, tricks, and information that is going to help you make better songs. Right now, I am documenting the production process of a rock ballad. We have just started the mixing stage. You can go ahead and click on the link that's above here, and it will take you to the first video of the recording series, so you can check that out. If you haven't done so yet, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notifications so that you are aware every time we have new content on this channel. So the first thing that I wanted to show you is that once I'm done with the recording, the first thing that I do is to prepare the session for mixing. I have a very detailed video that talks about it. You can go ahead and click on the link that's above here and it will take you to that video. But just to do a quick recap, basically what I do is first I convert all of the MIDI tracks into audio so that they show up as tracks, and that's gonna be pretty easy for me to manage within the session. Second thing that I do is that I organize all of the tracks by category. It could be by instruments. That's the way I do it. First drums, then bass, and so on. I'm going to show you that in a minute. Then I use colors so I can easily find what I need. So I always use the same colors. So if I need to mix guitars, I know, use those colors for guitars and so on. I also use markers, and that's going to help me to navigate within the song if I want to jump to the intro or the chorus or so on in a much easier way. And then finally, I apply templates. If you mix constantly and you see and you find yourself using the same plugins and so on, you can create templates, and I'm going to do work on a separate video about that later on. But this is the process that I followed. And as a result, what I have is what I'm showing you here right now, guys. That's the result. That's the clean session with all of the tracks converted into audio and separated by category. You can see neat colors depending on what they are, and it doesn't have any plugins and so on. So it is a blank session, pretty much ready for me to start the mixing process. So that's what I do. Now let's get into a session. Here it is. Here I have all of the tracks laid out. The song is pretty much here with my memory locations and markers. And let's take a look and jump and take a look at the drums. So let's first take a listen and see what the final result is. So pretty quickly, I have the kicks here, then snare, then I have toms, have a couple of effects for the snare, hi-hat, China, overheads, a couple of rooms. This is what I exported from SSD. Now for the kick, I am using a sample for both kick and snare, and this is just to make the original samples sound a little different so that it just doesn't sound out of the box. But by themselves, I believe the SSD samples are pretty great, and they don't have the samples that I added here don't have much of a volume here. But let's begin. So the kick, the purpose with the kick was to make it a little bit more exciting, and this is what I'm about to show you here. Let's take a listen to the kick only. Some EQ with the SSL channel, high pass and low pass filters as always, and then 8K, quite a bump, and then 60 hertz, another bump, and then mid-range. I'm scooping the mid-range a lot, which is pretty common. In order to get a kick drum like this, I'm starting with the CLA kick preset and a little bump here around 2.6K just to give it a little bit more snap. Then an additional mid scoop around 400 hertz, and finally the CLA compressor with the kick preset just to emphasize the attack and of the sound, make it sound with a little bit more of attack. I've got a sub kick, which I'm EQing here only to keep those low frequency bands here. And then some EQ with the SSL. I have, high and low pass filters, and I'm doing nothing here but, a little bump at 60 hertz is what I'm doing. And this is what you hear if I take it out. The bump at 60 hertz. This is not doing anything because of the previous EQ that I have here. And the sample is already processed, so I'm just doing a little bit of mid-range scooping here. And all of this is going into a compression bus. And for the compression bus, I have the SSL compressor, bus compressor, with the pumping preset, pretty heavy compression, decapitator to add grit, aggression, and with harmonic distortion. The F6 is just a little bump around 7K that it needed. Moving on to the snare. First thing, snare preset, SSL, high pass filter. I'm adding some top end here at 7.3K to give snap to the snare. Same thing at 3.7 hertz. And the typical 200 hertz for body. That's what I'm doing. No compression. Do have the gate here because the rim shot was getting in and it was too loud when I was EQing this, plus the bottom and the overhead, so I had to take it out using the gates. SLA 76 with the snare preset to add punch, attack, and color to the snare. Mid-range scoop here, but I'm not using it because I thought it was too much later on in the mixing process. Tape saturation to tame the high end of the snare is basically what this is doing. And distortion, lo-fi to give it a little bit more level and aggression. This is going to the power compression. Got a gate reverb. Valhalla is just a gate reverb, pretty subtle, and then to a longer delay, which is this one. This is just an effect that I'm using reverb as an effect. Now the bottom. First thing I have here is a gate. Again, I had too much bleed from the rim shot, so wanted to get rid of that. And then some EQ for the bottom, which is the preset for bottom. High pass filters, snap at 11K, and the purpose of this is to enhance the sound of the snare bottom. Again, going to the power compression, to the gate reverb and the long reverb. Then the sample. The sample is already processed, so it doesn't have much. Quick mid-range scoop. Got low and high pass filter, some emphasis around 8K. Then it doesn't have much. The 200 bump as well. Tape saturation, same lo-fi distortion, and the CLA 76 for attack, going also to the same sense. But what I was trying to achieve by adding the sample was only to make sure that the original sample was not sounded different. That's why it doesn't have that much volume here. Okay, so let's continue with the toms. Let's take a listen to them without any processing here. So basically EQ, also using the preset of the SSL, and just a lot of mid-range scooping here, and attack and snap around 6K. That's pretty much what it is for all of the toms, as you can see here. Mid-range scoop, nothing different for the toms. Yeah, this is what it's doing. Mid-range scoop, the snap here, and I've got a little bump for the floor tom at 90 hertz, and mid-range scoop for the middle tom, same mid-range scoop for the floor tom, and R bass for the floor tom, so that those low frequencies are you're able to hear them in low speakers. Toms going to the parallel compression, and also going to the long reverb for the effect that I wanted to achieve in certain sections of the song. It's not everywhere, or at least the level is low depending on the section. Then we move on to the hi-hats, chinas, and so on, all of the cymbals. And for the hi-hat, I only have EQ. Getting rid of all of the mid and low frequencies that are not needed. That's all there is to it. For the china, there's a little bit more going on. Okay, so I had to use this surgical EQ to get rid of that sound. I don't know what was happening with that. And then some more EQ to get rid of the lows and mids that are not doing anything. Then for the overheads, pretty much EQ getting rid of the lows, mid-range scoop, and compression, which is pretty useful, and it's pretty common in rock music, and it just brings out this special effect when it is added. And I'm using the overheads preset here for the overheads. It just makes it sound with a lot of aggression. Same thing for the rooms. I've got stereo room and mono room, low and high pass filters, mid-range scoops, and then the room preset, which is also doing some filtering and increasing the high end of the clarity of the room, scooping the mid-range, the low mid-range, and low bump. Let's take a listen to it with and without. Adding lows and clarity, and also an effect of a heavy compression with the room preset here. It's also adding that aggression special effect to the snare drums, to the drums in general. And for the room, mono room, scat compression here, light, low pass and high pass filters, boosts, high boosts, mid-range scoop. That's it. Make it sound with a lot of aggression. That's also a special effect that is pretty common in rock music. Now let's take a listen to the whole kit. Finally, for the drum bus, I have the SSL bus compression with the punch preset. Let's take a listen without and all with all of these. Just getting tightening those drums together. That's basically what you hear it does. Look, let's take a listen. Punch and brings the drums together a little bit more, and a scoop, a little bump at 1K to compensate for the effect. Maybe the compressor was making it a little darker in around that area. And finally, some overall EQ for the drum kit, just enhancing the bass, the low frequencies, and adding clarity to the kit. It's just a small bump at 60 hertz and another one at 12K to add air to the kit. Let's take a listen and you'll see what difference it makes. A little bit more snap as well. And that would be it. I mean, this is the whole idea that I have for the drums. We would be, all of the plugins and how, the sound is being pretty much designed. So let me know in the comments below if you find this useful, if you were able to learn something as well. Please don't forget to hit that like button. That way you will be supporting this channel. Now in the next video, we are starting with the mixing process. We will continue with guitars, bass, and so on. So stay tuned to the channel. Don't miss it out. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.